WPIAL Podcast, Trib Live High School Sports Network, getting ready for the final week of the 2026 regular season. The thing I love about these final 2 weeks of the regular season is you got all kind of things going on. You have teams fighting for section supremacy. You have teams fighting for playoff positioning, seeding, if you will. And then you have teams fighting for their playoff lives just to get in to the dance. Almost every game means something for somebody. There are, as the week progresses, maybe by late in the week, there might be some games where both teams are eliminated and playing for pride. But for the most part, there aren't too many of those games. Then you throw in the fact that some teams still have to make up a game or two after last week. It's going to be a fun ride. Check us out every day, hssn.triblive.com. We have most of the key games that you can watch online. We also have we'll be updating every night the scores, the recaps from those big games. We'll have a playoff picture every night as well. So check it out every day. Fun time of year as we get ready for the February frenzy. Well, now we're officially into February. Time to honor our WPIAL Basketball Team of the Week, and it is the girls basketball team at Belle Vernon. Wow, what a performance, especially recently. The young Leopards have put on, and they find themselves alone in first place, a good place to be heading into the final week of the regular season. Their head coach, young to Belle Vernon, but a veteran in WPIAL ranks, Cornelious Nesbit, is kind enough to join us. Coach Nesbit, congrats, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you've been doing this a while. What was it, 8 years at Gateway, 9 years at Shaler, second year at Belle Vernon. Who were some of the folks that you sort of looked at as a mentor, whether it be growing up, getting educated as a player, your basketball coaching role models, if you will?
One was Mr. Gerald Grayson, Puddin.
Right,
Puddin Grayson. Yeah, he's somebody who, when I was in high school watching him coach, never thought I would actually be a basketball coach, but I was good friends with his sons. So was always around them, watch the girls teams when they had Carla Coleman playing for them, and those girls, and just watching them coach. And once I got into coaching, he was somebody who lives right around the corner from me, so I could always give him a call, sit down and just talk basketball, whether it's how to handle parents, how to handle players, how to set up expectations. So he's one of the first. He's one of the first.
Legend, a McKeesport legend, and one of the classiest men that I've come upon in doing this all these years. The great Puddin Grayson. So you mentioned when you were playing, you weren't necessarily thinking of someday being a coach. When did those thoughts start to creep into your head?
One of my best friends, Sam Salee. He just took the job at South Fayette. I've known him for a while, used to work out with him and everything. And he called me and said, "Hey, I just took the job at South Fayette. I wanted to know if you wanted to join my staff, and be a coach." And my first question was, boys or girls? And he said, girls. I said, hold on, let me think about that. And he talked to me about the difference between the boys game, girls game.
Yep.
So then I was like, you know what? Let's do this. And this is kind of before South Fayette had the new school when we started there.
Okay.
So when we were there, it was a while ago. So when we were there, I remember being an assistant coach for him, and them making the playoffs for like the first time in like 15 years. It was unreal. So Sam Salee is a big part of who I am as a coach. And then after about 5 or 6 years at South Fayette is when I got my assistant coaching job with Eddie when he was the head coach at La Roche, and learned a ton from him, like how to run a program, the intensity that you have, to have as a coach, not just on game day, but practice and film session. So then being around guys like, John Tate, Robert Cash, as I'm,
Right.
coaching with the Bruins, Aaron Epps, when we were coaching for 212. So I've been around a lot of quality coaches, Dorothea Epps. So being around a lot of quality coaches, you just take things from each coach that you like and kind of put it in to my philosophy, how I want to run a program. But there are also people that I can call any day, any time of the night, just to ask questions or just to bounce basketball off of those guys. Ron Moncrief, who, is like a little brother to me. We were all on the same staff, me, him, and Sam Salee. So me and Ron Moncrief talk all the time as well.
Your style of coaching is a little unique, and that's good. You borrow from all these great minds that you just mentioned, and then you sort of mush it into what you have going on, your personality, upbeat, positive. The girls on the team may sort of debate that, but that's okay. It's always teaching. It's more teaching and coaching than barking. There's some coaches that all they do is bark at officials during the game, or not necessarily bark, but are always working to get that next call. And sometimes I think a lot of what you're supposed to be there for, which is teaching and coaching the girls, gets kind of lost in the background. I've never seen in the games I've done in which you've been coaching, you do that. So has that going back to when you were a player, did you always have that sort of more laid back, not necessarily argumentative personality, or did you have to sort of change on the fly?
I think I was a little bit laid back. I only barked with players. I was one that wouldn't really say much unless you started to talk.
Sure.
So I was never one to bark at referees. I try to, talk to them. I try to develop a relationship with them throughout the games, knowing that I'll probably have them on, multiple games. But it's more of us working together for the betterment of the girls and the game itself. So I try to tell my players, even if it's a call that I may not like or agree with, I'm a firm believer. If I ask a ref and they give me an answer, I have to truly believe that that's what they saw, and then we move on to the next play.
You mentioned the talking in your playing days. Now this is going back. Who did you either play with or play against that was the biggest trash talker out there?
I would probably say some of the people that I played with would probably be. I played with a Ty Rozier. I played with a Vernon Andrews. Those guys, they like to talk. They did like to talk. And then I played with guys who were quiet, like a Lance Brown and things of that nature, that they only talked if you barked at them. If not, they would just play.
Was there ever an opposing player that said something that cracked you up during the game, made you laugh actually during the game?
Not much saying. It was more like they would kind of like pull on your shorts, pull on your shirt, things of that nature. There's not much that was said that would maybe, it was more to pull it on the shirt, the shorts, and stuff like that, which after I thought it was comical, I understood what they were trying to do. So
Right. Cornelious Nesbit, head coach of the Belle Vernon girls basketball team. Belle Vernon had such a magical run, the boys, last year in JoJo's final season, to win the WPIAL boys basketball championship. All of a sudden, Belle Vernon, kind of sort of known as a football school, is developing this great reputation as a basketball team, with your team now one win away from securing at least a share of the section title in Class 4A Section 3. Right now, coming into the final week, you guys are sitting there with two section games remaining at 11-1, one game up in the loss column on Elizabeth Forward, one game up in the loss column on South Park, having just beaten those two teams recently, which we will talk about. But, man, you guys have put yourselves in a very good position. We talked a little bit after the game that I saw you guys beat South Park, And, it's such a young team. Again, we'll get into that, but is this kind of success, something that you saw coming this quickly?
Honestly, no. I thought it might take us a little time. You got freshmen coming in, you've got seniors who started, whose roles are going to change. They go from starters to coming off the bench. So it was more about, can we get the chemistry together? Can we really get the girls to buy into their roles? We lose the first game of the season 50-7 to York Suburban. And that was more on me. I just don't think I had the girls prepared for the first game of the season. So I shouldered more of that blame. I really didn't put that on the girls. We just talked about being a little bit more mentally tough and me preparing them better.
Well, you guys have turned it around. Right now, overall, 17-3. You guys have won 11 in a row. This is when you want to be peaking. You're catching a lot of eyes, and again, those two recent victories, a 42-32 road win at South Park, and then you follow up, no letdown, with a 55-53 win over Elizabeth Forward. When I say young team, I mean it. Here's Cornelius' starting five. Abby Russell's a junior. She's the gray hair of the group. Sailor Lee also is a junior. Then you have very talented Aubrey Brown is a sophomore. Lila McConnell of the tradition-rich McConnell family, first family of hoops, a freshman, and Isis Almighty, 6'1", talented freshman. So you're going 11th grade, 10th grade, 9th grade. Extremely young, but man, what a great mix. You got some height, a lot of height, to be honest with you. And not only just the size, but also the skill set. And that, somebody like Aubrey, who's 6'2", you can throw her out in the perimeter and she's awfully comfortable. So it is really, from all aspects, a great mix.
Yeah, it allows us to do a lot of things defensively, offensively. Being young sometimes has its benefits. When you're young, sometimes you just don't know any better. I thought going into that South Park game, I don't think those two freshmen knew any better. I think they're just like, hey, we're just going to go play some basketball and have fun.
Ignorance is bliss, right?
Yes,
absolutely. That's right. So the South Park game, you guys end up winning, pulling away 42-32, but it was a close game throughout. Again, there were moments where this team did not look young. It showed a nice level of maturity in taking control and then not losing control, especially with the fact that Aubrey was in foul trouble a good portion of the game. You mentioned two seniors, and I'm glad that we had a chance to talk about them. Mia Roebuck, and now a former starter for the Leopards, now coming off the bench. And the only other senior on the roster for Belle Vernon is Emerson Lacarte. Again, same situation, starter, now coming off the bench. Danny Holzer, Upper St. Clair boys coach, talks about how every successful program needs those, he calls them program players. These are kids in a society now where if there's not that immediate satisfaction, there's a tendency to sort of drift off. There's a tendency to either quit overall or just sort of fade into the background and not be the best you can be for your team, no matter what your role is. And here are two seniors that have not sulked, that have by all accounts done everything they can to make this team a winning program. And it was great that they both hit big shots, key shots in that victory, and were a big part of the triumph.
Yeah, when I first took over last year, those were the two kids that I leaned on a lot from a leadership standpoint. They were the first two kids that, really opened up and greeted me at Belle Vernon. And they were the two kids who said, Coach, anything you need, you know, emails to send out to the girls, making sure, we're at open gyms and everything. So my first year, I relied on them too heavily. And they were open to it. And they wanted to be leaders. So I think that made it easy as well. They wanted to be leaders. And then, you come into this year, we know we've got two good freshmen coming in, so before the season starts, and we just have a big meeting as a team at center circle, and we sit there and in front of everybody, we tell each player what their role is going to be this year. Because what we wanted, the two things we wanted is we wanted everybody on this team to know each other's roles. There were no secret meetings, so there couldn't be, well, coach told me this, well, coach told me that. We wanted it out and open. So I know what your role is. You know what my role is. So when we're playing and we're practicing, there's no secret on what we want from each other. And the teammates know what's expected of each other. So that was the first thing. And the second thing was to let every player know how important their role was going to be. Whether you play 7 minutes, 20 minutes, every minute's important. And also getting them to understand that the role that you start out in the beginning of the year doesn't have to be the role that you finish up with at the end of the year. So your role can increase. What we need from you will change. So we didn't want to also put them in a box. We wanted to let them know that this is where we start. Where we finish at is up to you.
Part of the difficulty of coaching now, Cornelius, at least from what I hear, is the fact that it's getting the kids to buy in. You just described how you do things, and boy, that checks off a lot of boxes as far as doing things the right way and getting everybody to buy in, and as you said, accept their roles. It makes it a lot tougher. Now, again, if you have parents that are supportive of their sons and daughters and are going to be there cheering and being positive no matter what the situation is, that's awesome. However, as we know, a lot of times coach is telling player A this, and the parent is in that same player's ear, is telling them they should be doing this, they should be doing that. So to get that complete buy-in, it really goes beyond the kids. And if the kids are getting support at home, tremendous. That makes your job a lot easier. But if they're not, it's a really big feather in their cap when they're still willing to tune that out and buy and still be in the buy-in process.
Yeah, absolutely. When we came into this season, we had a meeting, and it was in front of the parents. So a lot of the things I do when we talk about our program, it's with the players and the parents all in one room, because I want the parents to hear the same thing, the message that I'm talking to the girls when we're talking about our vision, our culture, where we want to take this program. I want everybody to hear it at the same time, coming from me, coming from my assistant coaches. And we talked about a shift in our culture would be from year number one, this team was coach-led by me because we were getting to know each other. I had to learn the girls what worked, what didn't work. Year two, we talked about this team becoming a player-led team. When you're a player-led team, the team, I think, is going to go further. They're going to be tight, more knit, because they also have say-so in some of the decisions that we're going to make as a team. So we talk with the parents, with the players, that this is what I'm willing to give as far as this is what a player-led team looks like. Here's the things that I need from the players so they can lead this program. Obviously, I'm going to be the person who kind of guides them and steers them in the right direction, but I'm going to allow them to make some decisions because it is their program. And the South Park game was a prime example of what I've wanted to see from this group. We go into halftime, I kind of hang outside, and by the time I get to the locker room, honestly, they've already made the adjustments. I walk in, I can hear them talking. I walk in, I tell them, hey, what do you guys got? They give it to me. This is what I got. What do you guys think will work? What plays do we need to get rid of? And what plays you think will work? And they've bought into this is our team. Coach is just driving the bus, and it's worked for us. It may not work for every program, but it's
Right.
worked for us.
That's awesome. The victory over South Park on the road. You guys get Elizabeth Forward at home. You knocked them off by 14 earlier this year. A lot closer this time around, but you guys win 55-53. What were some of the keys to that victory over the Warriors?
Biggest thing was our depth and my belief and faith in our bench. Because once again, Aubrey gets an early foul trouble, so she really doesn't play much in the first half. Then what happens is in the second half, Lila gets in foul trouble, has 4 fouls in the third quarter. So we have to have one of our star players off the floor for one half of the first, second quarter, third, fourth quarter. The biggest thing is our bench kids don't flinch. Like, they know their roles. Everybody trusts everybody. I trust them. So there was no panic of having to insert those kids in foul trouble and have them play tentative. We just knew that we had to get certain parts of the game so we could insert those kids. And then kind of once we got Aubrey back in the second half, she kind of really took over for us for a good 2 or 3 minutes. And then once again, Emerson hit some big threes. Mia has a big three. Pate Walsh comes off the bench, big minutes defensively. Before you know it, we're down. I think we were down 10, and we go on a 16-18-0 run,
Wow.
and now we're up 6. When we go on runs, as you saw in South Park, we go on some big runs.
Yep.
Like, we go on runs that are 16-18.
Well, and you could do that because you guys play tremendous defense. Twice in that South Park game, you held the Eagles to single points in quarters, 2 in the second, 7 in the fourth. When you play that kind of defense, and when you guys can score the basketball the way you do, those kind of runs are awesome, because there are going to be times where you're going to be things aren't working at that point in the game, and you start to fall behind. If you don't have to hit the panic button, hey, we've done that. We've been there. We've done that. That's awesome. 11 wins in a row, taking care of business against teams you guys should be taking care of, winning some tough ones. Besides South Park EF, you had a nice victory over a very good Sarah Catholic team mixed in there. You're getting ready to close out the regular season. A Mount Pleasant team comes your way Monday, fighting for their playoff lives, and then you end up at Southmoreland to wrap up the regular season. What is this team doing well, and what do they need to keep doing to carry into the postseason?
What we're doing well is just sharing the ball. Like, we're a team that, our leading scorer only averages 12 points a game. We've got a lot of girls who score 8 to 9 points a night. So we want to continue to make sure that the focus is on just make the right basketball play. And we believe that the ball will find you when it's your time to be found. So just continue to make the right plays, trust each other, and if it's your shot, shoot it. I mean, I think the EF game for us was classic. We're up 2 with about 28 seconds left. There's a timeout call. And I looked at the girls and said, hey, listen, we're not going to hold this thing and just try to survive. In order to beat the champs, I love boxing. So I take the additive of, if you're going to beat the champ, you're going to have to go knock them out. Yep. We can't allow it to come down to a call or two. And I looked at the girls and they looked at me and I said, so if you're open, let it rip. The ball gets swung to Abby Russell and she knocks down a 3. I think everybody in the gym probably said, what is she doing shooting it? But that was our plan. We were going to, if we were going to try to win this section, we were going to do it on our terms. The things that I think we just need to work on, I think we're aggressive defensively. We're physical. We've got to kind of make sure that we stay out of foul trouble. We've been in foul trouble the last 2 games against South Park and EF. We've been lucky enough that we're deep enough to survive it. But when it comes playoff time, we want to make sure that we're not in foul trouble. So we've focused on playing a lot of defense with our feet, not our hands, understanding what referees will call, what they won't call. So that's what we've been working on the last couple of days.
From your section, besides Elizabeth Forward and South Park, Mount Pleasant fighting for a playoff spot, Ringgold fighting for a playoff spot, competitive teams. You look elsewhere, you see Beaver, you see Hampton, Burrell, all strong teams. It's going to be a very balanced and deep Class 4A playoff field in girls hoops. Have you and your staff started to look around? Because the team, some of the best district teams, and we do this Trib 10, the power rankings, are in this classification. You have undefeated Blackhawk. You have defending champion Oakland Catholic. You have the most successful girls basketball program in Western Pennsylvania in North Catholic. It'll be fun for the fans, but man, oh man, keep an eye on your blood pressure, Cornelious.
Yeah. We've taken a look, we've got film. We've started, just breaking down film on teams, just, making sure that, we get a jump start on, on teams in 4A that we may not have seen in different counties and different sections. So we gather film, my assistant coaches start breaking down teams, and I break down teams, but at the same time, we have a lot of respect for Mount Pleasant. So, we know we've got to focus on them as well. So it's a lot of right now is a lot of double duty. Focus on the opponents in the section, start focusing on teams in 4A that are, that have qualified for the playoffs. So some long nights for us right now.
A lot of balls in the air, but it's a fun time. Especially it's fun to make the playoffs, but when you have a chance, then that makes it even a lot more exciting. And there's no question the team worth watching is this Belle Vernon Leopard team out of Section 3. Cornelious, congratulations. By the way, folks, one of the most dapperly dressed coaches in the WPIAL. Catch him on game day. Woo! But congratulations on your success. Again, reading everything about you guys, thought, man, this is a team that, is taking the next step and then might be ready to contend next year or especially in 2 years. But no. That's not the case. This team is a player right now. Finish strong and best wishes. Hope to see you in the postseason.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Go Leps.
Go Leps. Cornelious Bennett, head coach of the Belle Vernon Leopards girls basketball team, currently in first place, 1 win away from at least a share of the section title. If they win outright, they are the Section 3 champs. We thank him for joining us. Thanks to our producer, Chris Lackner. I'm Don Rebel. We thank you for joining us. Enjoy the ride. It's going to be a fun one here in this final week of high school basketball on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.